Could letters of the English language be, in actuality, hieroglyphs? We tend to assume that things are just letters and we use them and we uh, speak them when we put them into language, but linguistics. But in reality, are these letters literally hieroglyph messages? Are they from the hierarchy to give us a message as high as God? The interesting thing about the English language, which is a little different than all the other languages that occur, we're fully aware the Bible was translated from ancient Hebrew and Aramaic and ancient Greek. But when we look at the English language for what it is, it appears that the English language embraces all these other languages. So it borrows most of its words from what I've examined from a due diligence of that language of English. It borrows its language and usage of words from other languages, the perfect debtor language. And therefore, when you really look at it, could there be messages in these letters that make up the words that we use to speak? Is it something we've overlooked because it wasn't necessary in public education, tax education? We can do anything in tax education because it's only there to have you operate in a robot to produce tax or farming of tax income. But what we're talking about is language, and we're looking right at the root of it. So it's important to give it a little bit more of a deeper directional thought. And so when we look at Eve in the Genesis account of the Bible, Eve is EVE, okay, which she brought about a little bit of a darkness, though she was called the mother of the living, even despite the sin that occurred in Genesis. She did come into like an evening within our concept. Days were judged or put into place in the Hebrew understanding from dusk till dawn. So it would have been from the evening, the sunset, to the next day, the morning, in concept. And so we could look at the Genesis account following this harmony, because even despite Eve sinning but being beguiled, she entered into a darkness but still led to a light of truth. Adam was different. Adam deliberately sinned. He knew what he was doing. It was a willful act. Eve was tricked or beguiled. So when we kind of take our direction on this, we can look at the word event, because that's a very, very important word on all birth registration communications. They generally, from a registrar's office, will tell you that they are clear to let you know that they register events, not people. They didn't say persons. They said people. They can't register people because God has basically separated a peculiar people, something private that does not belong to the state, from him. And so therefore, when you look at Eve, and you look at the word event, because everything in the legal system is based on event registration, we can actually see that the word event potentially could have a code in the lettering or the hieroglyph messages that would appear in that word. So Eve and event are very closely related, but we know that God immediately upon the sin that had occurred, that looks like it was initiated by Eve, who was beguiled, led to an event or to an Eve NT, a New Testament. And the only purpose of the New Testament was to bring in the new covenant of free grace. So it is beautifully placed out there in the hieroglyphs, but you have to see the code and you have to see how beautiful that message is. But when we are caught up in legalism, we seldom have eyes to see.